Why, hello. Chapter 30 here. Last chapter was kind of a slow but sad chapter where we saw a lot of Ruku getting soaked from the rain, sneezing, runny nose. She was very concerned with the worms that were dying. It's just kind of a slow, kind of strange chapter, but I think some of that stuff's going to be important. Chapter 30, Mutu's Tale. The money we made from selling your necklaces was all we had that day, and it was even less than we'd made last time. We should get Ruku some medicine, I said, and I'm not going one more night without mosquito repellent. I'd rather eat well and let the mosquitoes eat well too, Mutu argued. He wanted to spend every last coin we had on food, but Arul supported me. We ended up spending half our money on repellent and cough syrup, which meant we went to bed with half-empty bellies. Again. Worse, you wouldn't let me rub the repellent on you properly, because you didn't like the sticky feel of ointment on your skin. But in spite of the cough syrup, you were not feeling any better the next morning. You two stay and rest, Arul said. Mutu and I will see if we can sell the bottles the gardener gave us. The boys set off, and I began telling your favorite story. Kuti lay close to us, the scent of his wet fur comforting me as much as his warmth. When I got to the end, about us always being together, you stared off to the distance as though you could see a palace floating in the air. The look in your eyes scared me. I didn't want you traveling all alone to our palace. I turned over and lay on my elbows and read my book to you until you dozed off. I felt so faint with hunger that it was an effort just to reread the pages while I waited for the boys to return. Bananas! Mutu's cry woke you. We crept out of our shelter. We found a new waste mart man, but he's worse than stingy. Arul's forehead was scrunched up in a worried frown. He drove a really hard bargain. Gave us next to nothing for all that glass. It's a good thing Ruku's favorite food is cheap. When Mutu saw no response from you to your favorite food, he clapped his hands in mock joy. Bananas! Ruku! It's so long since we had any. I'd forgotten how good they taste. He bit one, swallowed it right away without even seeming to chew, and then he let out a full-throated belch. See, is that a miracle or what? We can burp, though we've eaten next to nothing. Now, do you believe in God, Akka? I laughed, though I was worried about you not eating. And even Arul laughed, instead of telling Mutu he was going to hell. And that was a miracle. That evening, your skin was warm to the touch, and I was overcome with guilt. I had come to the city hoping for a better life. As soon as you were better, I needed to do more than just dream about finding a school where we could both study. The closest we had come to that was meeting that kind woman at church. I had thrown away the card she'd given me, but the address stuck in my brain. Maybe we should see the lady we met in church, Selina Auntie, tomorrow, I said. We could go to school and... School? Mutu sputtered. No way! Why shouldn't we see what she has to offer? That woman is a liar, Mutu cried. No, she isn't. She told the priest we weren't thieves, remember? Why? Mutu demanded. Why should a well-dressed woman care enough to argue with the priest for the sake of kids she doesn't know. Because she's good? Nah. Because she's trying to catch us and sell us, Mutu said. Don't be ridiculous. You're the one being ridiculous, he said. I went to one of those schools once. It was a prison. What? Arul put his arm around Mutu. You don't have to tell. I must, Mutu said. Akka needs to know. Know what? I was scared to ask. Mutu's tone was so serious, so different from usual. You and Kuti sensed the change in him, too. You touched his cheek with a tired hand. Kuti shifted his position and laid his head on Mutu's lap. I was sold to a school once, Mutu said. A school where they taught us to make handbags. We had to cut and sew all day. They kept us locked in. The man who called himself our owner only let us go to the bathroom at dawn and at night after our work was done. To eat? If we didn't finish as many handbags as he demanded, or didn't do whatever he said we must, he lashed us with his leather belt until we bled. I took one of Mutu's palms in my own, but he didn't respond to my touch. His mind seemed far away. One day, Mutu continued, police raided the place and took us to an orphanage. But the woman at the orphanage was a Rakshasi, he shuddered. A demon. She beat us too. Not as bad as the man, but bad enough that I ran away. I found him, Arul said, picking up where Mutu had left off, hiding behind a garbage can. We shared some food, and by the next morning, I was helping you, Mutu said. You became my boss. Not boss, Arul said. Brother. No. Mutu was firm. If Viji can be your boss, why can't I? Boss is better, Mutu said. My stepbrother's the one who sold me. Arul looked so upset. I knew it was the first time he had heard that part of Mutu's story. Listening to the rain plinking against the gravestones, I stared at our tarp roof that was swaying in the strengthening wind. Mutu's tale had horrified me, but I wasn't sure he was right about Selina Auntie. My back hadn't felt like a snake was crawling up it when I'd met Selina Auntie, like I'd felt with the creepy waste-smart man and the nasty bus driver. If anything, she seemed unusually kind. But could I really trust my feelings? I hadn't been on my own as long as Arul and Mutu. Surely they knew this world better than I did. So, Mutu's story. Oof. Talk about a connection to our human rights, right? Just about every right now, just about, except for the warfare one, has been brought up in this book. Okay, thank you.